does it. It's Carl Brown for GuitarLessons365.com. Got a great one today. We're gonna learn how to do Cold Shot by Stevie Ray Vaughan. So this one, it's been a while since I've cranked out some Stevie, so we're gonna go through the whole thing, all the rhythms, and that solo is through that killer solo. So hopefully you guys will stay along for the whole ride. Now, before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel. If you have not already, please do. Like, comment, kind of ring that bell, all that good stuff. I'm sure you've heard it a million times from every YouTuber you watch, but it really does help. YouTube, it's telling YouTube, hey, this guy's creating good content, and I'd like to see more of it, and I think more people should see more of it, and then they'll start pushing it. So everything helps. So please do that. And if you really want to support what I do here on YouTube, please check out my Guitar Academy. It's a great way to support everything I do here on YouTube, all the work I put into these lessons and stuff. But also you get access to all of my online courses, which is my complete guitar school, really. And you get personalized support from me and everything. You get courses for complete beginners to more advanced players in technique, improvisation, ear training, theory, guitar tone, you name it. I go live every Saturday just for Academy members, kind of live streams so you can ask me questions in real time every week. So click the link below, check that out, and you get a free trial. If you've never had a subscription before, you get a free 7-day trial just to check it out. All right, so let's jump into this. I'm in tuned down a half step. So E flat standard or D sharp standard, however you want to call it. But the E string is tuned down to an E flat or D sharp. A string tuned down to A flat or G sharp. D string tuned down to a D flat or a C sharp. G string tuned down to a G flat or F sharp. B string tuned down to a B flat or A sharp, and then the high E is an E flat or a D sharp. So let's jump into it. So we're gonna start here with this rhythm that it's kind of is played straight and then played in like a laid back way as well too. And he goes back and forth between the two throughout the song. So we kind of start first, he changes it up just in the very beginning. He kind of does kind of a slide down to low E string, and he grabs the 5th fret there on the low E string. Right there. I'm gonna call this the low E, not the E flat, but just so we'll still call them like their standard strings. We know we're tuned down a half step. So you grab that 5th fret there on the low E string, and then you can play 5-7 on the D string. So we'll talk about the muting in a second. I want to get kind of the notes down first, and then we'll kind of do the muting aspect of everything. So you play that 5. So you play the 5 with your thumb on the low E. That's the only time you're going to do that in a song. And then you're going to play 5-7 on the D string. And then we get to how the riff is normally played. Remember, I'm leaving out the muted notes for a second. So we have the 7th fret across the G, B, and the high E. And then the 5th fret across the G, B, and the high E. Now, you're gonna cut that one off really quick, because you're gonna get back to this 7 on the D, 5, 7. So that 7, this A right here was played first the first time through here, an octave lower. But that's the only time you're gonna do that. The rest of the time it's just gonna be 7, 5, 7 on the D. All right, so that's kind of the standard way to play it. Now let's talk about the muting a little bit. So let's get that kind of Texas swing, kind of shuffle thing. So that's what you want to get first. First, mute the strings. So it's a downstroke, and then it's kind of a slightly delayed. It kind of feels like a count of a 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And that 3, that third is kind of really accented with a quick upstroke. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you don't want that to feel rigid. You don't want to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's really hard to do, actually. You want to, you can actually see Ray Vaughan when he's doing this. He's not like going straight up and down. He's kind of doing like a little circle a lot of times when he plays. So you kind of see that little oval. Maybe not a circle, and more of an oval. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we're gonna play. We want to get this feel going first, and then we have. Now he'll play a lot with these two fingers. I like doing it sometimes on pinky because it allows me to mute the notes around it even easier. But you can see when I'm hitting the single notes, I'm also muting the strings around so I can hit those strings. See that? So just doing those back and forth between those. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So kind of that feel. All right, and then we're gonna add this quick little trumpet stop to the 7, and then the 5, and then back real quick. So we're gonna cut that 5 off real quick. So this. So you kind of, how much you let those notes ring out is kind of going to change. The verse, he doesn't. He really brings it in. He'll do that. Now, we're still on the intro though. We do that riff kind of like that feel 2 times through. And then we do this. So that right there is basically just holding this, since this is the same, and then you're gonna go the 7s, and then those 5s, you're gonna hold them for a whole kind of time of that 1, 2, 3. So it is 1, 2, 3, and then you're gonna grab 5, 7, because since you're holding that, it's gonna take the place of that 7 that you done the D string. So it is. So I grab that again, right on that. So I kind of, now I'm not gonna, even if I'm letting it ring, I'm not letting the hand stop the rhythm. I don't wanna lose, this is your metronome, you don't lose it. See, I still did the little oval while I was holding that chord. So right there, all I had time to do was just the 5, 7, right? I didn't have time to do that because I'm holding that chord. So do that 6 times. So you can see that I'm just gonna, when I'm playing those single notes, I'm hitting like all 6 strings. I'm just muting everything around. Anyway, so get that feel. You don't have to do the whole riff at first. You can just, you can work on that muting and that feel. Then you got to keep that feel going while you're doing the whole riff, and it's going to lock into place pretty well. All right, when he gets to the actual verse, when his vocals come in, we're back to the way we were playing it right when we came in at the beginning of the song, minus that note on the low E string. It's just this. Okay, it really brings kind of the dynamics down, but it's the same riff pretty much. A lot of times live, he just doesn't even play there, but it is on the recording. And then we get to, after this, a few times, it ends on this A minor chord, which is just that the 7th fret on the D, and then you're gonna borrow the 5th fret across the G, B, and the high E. And then we get to the chorus. And the chorus is kind of the same feel. Looks like this. So, great rhythm guitar workout. So we start with the same feel that we did in the verse, but up here at the 10th fret. So he's gonna do that 10, 12, 10, 12 on the D, and then the top 3 strings of the 12th fret and the 10. So So halfway through the second time through the riff, he kind of just goes up and kind of hits, really kind of just drag up around the 17th fret, and just kind of hitting those triple stops real quick. And then we're back down to the riff here at the 5th fret. So same riff twice down there, and then back to the 10th. Kind of slides back into it. Twice there. And then we have this ending. So this chord right here is E dominant 7 sharp 9. So it's kind of his variation on the regular Hendrix. So it's basically the open E string, and then you're gonna have the 6th fret there on the D, 7 on the G, 8 on the B, 7 on the high E. So you have those top 4 strings, you hit the low E. So it's kind of down, up, down, up, up. Down, up, down, up, up. Now I'm muting the A string there with the tip of my index finger, so I can hit all 6 strings if I want to. And then it goes back into the laid back version of the main riff. Like 4 times, so that's he kind of goes out of the chorus each time with that. All right, and then we get back into the same verse again, which makes it, it's kind of brings down the dynamics. You're not holding that 5th fret anymore, it's just really snappy. And then we're back to the same chorus pretty much, except that ending chord in the chorus instead of this. And the second chorus is up here. Is that. So it's basically the 15th fret on the high E and the B. And then the 14th fret there on the D string. And he might be playing the 12th fret here on the G as well. But I don't really hear that in the recording. I just hear kind of like you're hearing the 12th string is muted. I mean, the G string is muted. So it's kind of that chord instead of to end the second choruses. Other than that, the 2 choruses are the same. And then we get out of that second chorus, we go into the solo. So let me play through the solo for you real quick, and then I'll show you how to play it note for note. So that solo's got some killer Stevie Ray Vaughan, some just straight awesome the entire way through. Really gotta be digging in. Obviously, a lot of times when we can take this thing like note for note, right? But when you're hitting these, it's not like when he's hitting these like single notes, he's not really hitting just single notes. He's hitting a lot of strings and doing some heavy muting. Just like in the main riff, you got that, when you're playing single note lines, he's kind of really wanting to be playing those notes with a lot of kind of muted strings around it. I give it that bigger sound to it. All right, so now this first phrase looks like this. So it's gonna start here, where now these they're mostly kind of, when you're doing the bends, you can do them as just double stops. So there's the 7th fret across the G and the B. So you kind of pick that, and so kind of pull it towards the floor, and then you're gonna, when you do that, it turns into triple stops. So you're gonna be playing across the top 3 strings. So you do the bend, and then you're gonna play the 7th fret across the top 3 strings, then down to the 5th, the same 3 strings, and then back to 7, 5, so this. And then we have this. And that's just a quick 7, 5, 7 on the D string. And then that 5th fret across the G and the B, a slight bend on it. And then we have this to end that first phrase, which is those bends, bend and release at the 7th fret again, those double stops, down to the 5s across those top 3 strings, and then 7, 5 on the D. So the whole first phrase. Now the second phrase is slightly different, looks like this. So that's gonna start with this, the same bend, and so it's kind of the same thing that starts in both phrases. Then we have this kind of played a little slower. So now it's just kind of more laid back between the 7, 5, 7. Otherwise, it's the same so far. But here is where things get changed up. You're gonna do that same little bend here, while holding the double stops across the G and the B. And he adds that quick little pull-off lick, which is pulling off 7 to 5 on the D over to 7 on the A. So it is. So, and then you're gonna end that phrase by playing 5 on the D, then 7, pull off to 5. So. All right, now the third phrase. So that's kind of a little bit more simple. So that same, starts the same. Then, so after this, we go back 5, 7, 5, over to 7 just on the D, and then back to those 2, 5, with a bend on them. So this. And then we're going to end it a little bit different. So that's a little bit kind of it. The next lick kind of starts, the end of the phrase kind of starts the next lick, so I'm going to start there. So that's a little bit different than what we were doing before. So we're going to be basically barring across the 5th fret, this end of this little intro section of the solo. Bar across these top 3 strings. And you're going to be doing. So that's going to be, the melody is really on the G string while you're holding the bar across the top. These strings. So you're still hitting all 3 strings. So that bend at the 7th fret on the G. And then pick it without the bend. Again, down to the 5th fret on the G. We'll still play on this 5 on the B and the high E string. Over to 7 on the D string. All right, so then we get to the part where we kind of start with like the more kind of really kind of launching into the main solo. This I'm gonna kind of play out of the section that we just came from, so you know where it starts, because it kind of starts in the middle of a phrase. So it looks like this. All right, so it kind of starts with that same. So out of that little lick, you're gonna play 7 on the D string, then 5 on the G, and then bend at the 7th fret on the G, into the double stop at the 5th fret across the B and the high E string. From there we have that, which is the bend at the 8th fret there on the B string. Then we're gonna roll from the 5th fret on the high E to the 5th fret on the B, back to that 5th fret on the high E, into that bend at the 8th fret on the high E string too. And then back to, so that's gonna go back to the 5s across the high E and the B. So you're gonna pick the high E one, then the B, then the high E, and then you're gonna do a quick little bend and release at the 7th fret on the G string. Kind of quick little bend and release, pull off to the 5, over to the 7 on the D. And then go, which is the 5th fret there on the D, and then 7th fret twice. So with this. Then jump up here to the 10th fret. So this is going to be a bar, the 10th fret across the high E, across the high E, B, and G. So first you're going to have the 12th fret there on the G, while you're picking the 10th fret there on the high E and the B, and the G, and the high E and the B, sorry. So you pick that first with the 12 on the G, a couple times, then down to this, to the 10 across all 3 strings, over to 12 on the D string. All right, so now we kind of have this next section where we start with kind of the verse rhythm for one time through, and then it kind of launches into the new phrase. So it looks like this. All right, so that's gonna start with this kind of, like I said, the verse rhythm. From there, we kind of launch into that, which is, now those are single notes there. Which is that 7, 5, 7 on the D, then 5, 7 on the G. But you'll notice that I kind of, really, I'm hitting more than one string. I'm kind of muting the other strings around it and really kind of hit it hard. So that kind of gives those notes kind of a bigger sound. So we get that top note on the 7th fret there on the G, some vibrato, and then so that's going to be start 5 on the G, down to 7 on the D, back to 5 on the G, then bend at this, hold that bend at the 7th fret there on the G string, 5 on the B, 5 on the high E string, and then 8, 5 on the B string. And then that kind of bend on the 7th fret on the G, and then play 7, 5, over to 7 on the D. So this. And then go 5, 7 on the G, up to 5 on the B, back to 5 on the G. And then 5, 7, 5 on the G to end it. So we have this on that ending chord there, which is the open E string. You're gonna hear this at the end of the chorus as well. This same chord that's at the end of the chorus that we've already done, but that's the 7th fret on the high E, 8th on the B, 7 on the G, and 6 on the D if you're just checking out the solo and you haven't looked at the chorus. So it's kind of hitting that low E and then go back and hit that chord with the upstroke. So kind of getting into that. So remember that on that, kind of probably a little bit better. So dig into that. Kind of picking it and then picking it because you kind of staccato when you. All right, then we get to this, it kind of does that riff that happens at the end of the chorus, which is that kind of laid back. Also the second, it happens in the intro too, where we're kind of doing the laid back version of the riff. And then it launches into really the second half of the solo, which looks like this. All right, so that is going to be, so after that after the second time I'm doing that, we had that first lick. All right, so that right there is kind of the same little standard blues like he's gonna start it with, which is gonna be the 7th fret bend on the G, over to 5 on the B, roll over to 5 on the high E. And then we're gonna do a bend at the 8th fret on the B string. Then catch the double stop here at the 5th fret on the B and the high E. So this. Into a bend at the 8th fret on the high E. So this. Then back to those two double stops at the B and the high E, so this. Back to a bend on the 8th fret there on the B string. Back to the double stop, so this. And then it kind of gets that, so back to that same riff. A little bit different ending there, so that same kind of bend and release on the G, 7th fret, pull up to 5, over to 7 on the D, then back to that 5-7 on the G, over to 5 on the B, back to this 5 on the G. Now right there it gets a little weird, because it sounds like he goes 7 on the D, then picks it again, pulls off to the 5th fret there on the D string, which gives you the G note, and then you hear what sounds like an open G string. Now he could have, like he's pulling off, he could hit that, or just actually pick it. But you hear two G's, but the second one sounds different, like it's an open string. So this, sorry. All right, and then we have this kind of a little bit longer phrase, looks like this. So that's kind of more of a Chuck Berry type thing. So that's gonna start with that same blues like at the, you can bend at the 7th fret on the G, then the 5 on the B, 5 on the high E string. Then what you're gonna do is 4 times in a row. So he's really kind of just doing a bend at the 8th fret on the B, and then you can pick the high E and then the B separately, or you pick them together. He's most likely doing like a bend at on the 8th fret on the high E, on the B, and then playing 5 on the high E, 5 on the B, and kind of that's the lick. So letting those two notes bleed together. So you hear those kind of like 4 times. And then he catches the bend on the 8th fret of the high E instead of the B. And then back, the same thing at the end. So and then he's gonna go over to the bend on the 7th fret there on the G. And that's gonna be a bend at the 7th fret on the G, 5th fret there on the B, pick that 8th fret there on the B string twice, slide up to 10, over to 8 on the high E string, and then we're to the new phrase. So altogether it's like, from there we have this. So, so this kind of moves around quick. So when you get there, we have this. So that's going to be 8 on the high E string over to 10 on the B string. And then 10 on the high E string, a bend there. Once again, really dig in. So that bend, then pick it without the bend, and then hammer from 8 to 10. So this. So after that hammer, back to 8, and then over to 10 on the B. And then we have a quick little. Now this right here, he's kind of on this. He's kind of, as he does this first kind of 3 notes, he plays high E on the 8th fret, then pull off 10 to 8 on the B. Then you kind of hear him slide down into the 5th position, and he's gonna grab these double stops. These double stops here at the 5th fret on the B and the high E string. So you hear that. It's kind of really. It's kind of one big move, really. So from there, you can do as an upstroke. You got these notes here, you're holding, and then you have the bend and release at the 7th fret on the G, down to 5. And then we start this little, he kind of does an awkward look. So what he's doing here is he's holding these 8th fret across the B and the high E with his pinky. So he starts here. So you have that. So you're always hitting those 2 notes, but on the, you hear that melody going on under it. So just the melody alone, 5, 7 on the G, bend up the 7, and then back to 7, 5, over to 7 on the D. So he does that while he's holding that. Sorry. It's kind of awkward. And then he has this. So then he goes back, kind of ended. So after doing that like twice, then he goes back to the 5-7 hammer. And then you kind of release that bar and play 5 on the G, over to 7 on the D, and then play 5, 7, 5 on the G. And then we kind of have a new little set, a little double stop on top with a melody on the G string lick. This one, when you see the actual official video, he's playing a lot of the solo like he actually plays it. So that this part, he actually plays it exactly like that in the video too. But this last part, he's continuing to kind of do this bar up here at the 8th fret, but it's not like that anymore on the actual recording. It's the bars down here at the 5th fret. So I had this. So that's kind of like, so we're gonna have this bar going across on the top 3 string at the 5th fret. So the melody note though, first on the G string. So it's more of a melody on the G. So bend up, then 7, 5, 7, then back to 5, then the bend again. Back between 7 and 5 a couple times. And then 7, 5, 7 on the D. So when you do that, when the notes are being played on the G string, you have that. So it's just kind of like that. So you got to keep those, just remember, not the 8. It goes to this at the very end. And then from here, kind of ends it with the verse riff, where it's and just gonna end it with it kind of a straight A minor chord there, where it's just that 7th fret on the D, 5th fret across the G, B, and the high E. All right, so that's it for the solo. It's kind of long, I know it's kind of detailed. He's got a lot of kind of common blues licks, but his own little variations on them, so it's that kind of note for note stuff, and he's really digging in and add a lot of rhythmic elements to it. So it's kind of hard to get exactly like it and kind of demonstrate it piece by piece. But once you get it down, it's a lot easier to play when you just got in the flow of it kind of thing, and you know what it sounds like by ear. All right, so then we have like the verse variation that he just. So it's just that 7s across the G, B, and high E, and then the 5s. But he's got those muted hits in front of each one. Kind of just like that. And then it gets back to the chorus, kind of the same chorus as before. And kind of the same ending with it's back down that chord that ends it. And then we end the song with that kind of the laid back groove, I've been calling it throughout, with that kind of holding that 5th fret bar. So he does that for a little bit. So it looks like this. All right, now out of that laid back groove, he goes into this kind of a vamp on that E dominant 7 sharp 9. So it looks like this. So he's gonna, that same chord. It does kind of that same rhythm we did at the end of the chorus, but it's done like 5 times. Then it's kind of straight, like down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And from there, he just grabs those 7s and then ending on that A minor chord again. And then there's kind of a little bit of a pause, and then he comes in with a tremolo pick. He basically moved this up, this chord, up to the up here to the 11th fret. So we'll 6 here. Here. In the video, he does it with his finger, but you play like that, and then one final hit on it to end the song. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a fun song. It's got a really cool groove to it, and obviously a killer solo, as all of SRV's solos are. So it's been a while since I knocked one of his out, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for guitarlessons365.com.